Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday morning real estate marketing show with Ruthie Rocks Ruth Allbrand, and I am Marketing Max. Today is episode 220, and we have a tremendously special guest that we've been trying to get on the show for the last 3 years, and finally he's here. We have Hall of Fame broadcaster of a nationally syndicated show, Neal Boortz, on the line. He claims he's a former attorney, a former country attorney now, but I'm sure he's going to have a lot of insights for us on what's happening in our country today. But before we get into that, Ruth, what is happening in Las Vegas?
Well, good morning, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here today, and it's good to see my old friend Neal Boortz. We go way back to the 70s, actually, when we were just kids. So, and you grew some hair, Neal. I have to tell everybody, I don't know where that hair came from, but it's really quite something. So let's get into
part of my disease.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into the stats real quick. We have some great news for everybody in the Las Vegas area and really across the country. You know, we are come out of this pandemic in the real estate market, just zooming, and the prices have held steady throughout the country. And Mark Cuban said about a month ago, oh, the real estate prices are going to go down 30%. Well, guess what? He was wrong. They haven't even moved. They have held steady. And in Las Vegas, we have just under 8,000 available homes, which means that, there is a supply and demand issue going on, and homes are going to become the new toilet paper. They're going to be flying off the shelves because we got more people that want them than we have them. So we listed 155 homes yesterday in Las Vegas. We closed 85 transactions, and we put 96 new homes under contract. And that is fantastic for us. And if you look at the stats there, if you can see the screen, in 2020 year to date, we have sold 14,569 homes and an average price of $336,000. And we started the year at $334,000, so we're even up a couple thousand. And last year to date, we had sold 16,495 homes. So we're down 1,926 homes. But then if you look at the May numbers, the May is what slaughtered us, and that's where the media is going to get us. They're going to say, oh my God, real estate's down 50%. Well, May was, I keep saying this to everybody so you can tell it to your clients, May is a result of the fear that was created from the pandemic and nobody knowing in the middle of March where we were headed. So fear over facts caused people to hold back and not maybe list their homes or buy homes. And of course, then we had to contain ourselves in our homes. So it was a little difficult. But anyway, if you look, most of the down overcomes in May. So this month, the really good news is we are outpacing 2019 by 6 homes in the month of June. And we've been trending this for years, right, Max? I mean, yeah. We pretty much know the market. I've been doing it 30 some years, and I'm here to tell you that we are really going to absolutely just have to do, I tell everybody, you need to do 9 months of work in the next 6 months. Homes are going to be the new toilet paper. And yesterday, when the stats came out with the low 13.3 unemployment rate, we may be headed for a V-shaped recovery, meaning Absolutely. That we went down and we're going to go soaring right back. And I really believe that. And in May, I think 80% of the businesses started coming back online, which accounted for those 2.5 million homes that came back. But we still are going to see an increase in jobs coming back online, because as more businesses come online, that number will get better. And now the casinos are open in Las Vegas.
Exactly right. And I went to the two local ones here, the Red Rock Station, Santa Fe Station, and guess what? They were packed. It was like a regular day, if not like a regular weekend day. And so that's very promising. I didn't go at midnight on 6-4.
Well, at midnight, the Green Valley Ranch had 500 people lined up to get in, and Red Rock had a similar number as well. So The locals are anxious to go.
Yeah, locals are anxious. So yes. I'm going to head down to the Strip today, actually, to see how the MGM and Bellagio and the Wynn properties are going to be doing on the opening here. So
what's interesting, during the pandemic, people saved 30% of their money. And
Mhm.
prior to that, the average that a person saves is 8%. So people have more money to spend. And the D, which is a hotel casino here, what they did last month, a couple weeks ago, is they said, we are going to give away 1,000 airline tickets for free. It sold out in 20 minutes. So they had to come back and add 700 more. So they have 1,700 one-way tickets to Vegas that sold out within an hour.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't know what they did with the rooms. I'm not real clear. Some people said that the rooms, they gave away rooms too, but I'm not, I can't
clear,
verify that.
right.
Yeah.
But major discounted prices. So
Yeah,
people are eager to come back for sure.
absolutely. I have one more thing because I have to say this to all my real estate friends. You know, people, you got to use the stat sheet. I posted it in the group, # Ruthie Rocks. Download it, give it to people, give this information to people, show them how strong our real estate market is. We are responsible for what's out there. And if you can share the facts with people, they will not be fearful of buying or selling their homes. And that's what we have to do. Real estate is the #1 wealth builder in the country. And we have to just keep singing this song that we are strong. And when you go out there with the low interest rates, guys, 3%. What that means is for every $100,000 of a mortgage, it costs $41. Yeah, I wish. $421. So that's like $42 per 10,000. So when you're out there negotiating, you know, don't let somebody lose a home over a couple $1,000s, because people should be buying payment, not price. The annual Las Vegas appreciation is 5.7%. So on a $300,000 home, that's $17,000 appreciation they're going to get the first year. And because the interest rates are so low, that means more of their payment is going to build their equity. So if you buy a $300,000 home, you're going to get $17,200 in a year in appreciation and an additional $5,000 of principal reduction. These are the reasons why you want to go out there and tell people what you know with facts. So download my sheet today. It'll be on the group. And I think I'm about done with everything I know to say, except that don't worry about foreclosures, everybody. 3.6% of the country is liable to go into foreclosure. Only 3.6%. So help people sell their homes if they're in trouble, because they do have equity. Only 3.6 don't. So, you know, you got 94% of the people have equity. So get them to sell their homes if they're in any kind of financial trouble. You know, not foreclosure. Foreclosure is something that's like rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. You don't want to do that. So that's all I have to say. I'm anxious to get to our guest today. And I'm going to put this down so we can see more of that hair of his.
Or lack thereof.
All right, there you go, Neal. See, Neal's professional. He knows when he's out of balance here.
Hey, do you want my real estate news?
Yeah, give it to us.
Well, Naples is a great market. Now, this, if I can get this to the camera the right way, that is the view out my window. I live on the beach, but I'm in a high rise.
Nice.
But that's the view. People are buying those houses and tearing them down. They are scrapers. And they're tearing them down because that Tuscan look is no longer popular in Naples. Wow. So you pay $14 million for a house and you scrape it so you could build something. There's a real estate market for you.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow. No doubt.
Can I take this thing off now?
Well, take what?
The hair thing or
my hair?
Your shirt?
Oh, yeah. Neal, you can do whatever you want, my friend.
You're just as handsome as ever, for heaven's sakes.
You know, I was also a real estate lawyer.
Oh.
Yeah, I closed about 6,000 loans.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Well,
Thank you, Lord. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing anything anymore.
so let me ask you the first question.
Yeah.
Because of your history in broadcasting and your industry experience in the media, I want to get your thoughts on how the media is treating this whole situation across the country, over the last 3 months.
Very dishonestly. Oh, now are we talking about COVID or are we talking about the protests and riots?
Let's start with COVID first, the pandemic.
I think the media has bought into hysteria hype on that in large part. I really believe. Look, if you take all of the statistics, if you take everybody that has been infected, and I know people who went and took a test. They said, "My God, I had it. I didn't even know. I had it in February, and it went away." If you take everybody that has actually had the virus, you will find the fatality rate of everybody that has had it is down there in the 0.25% range.
Right.
I'm sorry, you don't shut down economies for 0.25%. I really believe that if this was not an election year, this whole thing would have been completely different. That the election year drove a lot of it because much of the media, you go to the 3 networks and what have you, 96% of those people that do make political contributions make them to Democrats. I think that they saw this as a chance to maybe force a change in Washington, so they played it that way. So there you go. And I've got underlying conditions. But Naples has just been one of the safest areas in the country. So I'm lucky there.
Fantastic. No, I lost my audio here for a second.
Yeah, I was thinking at the same time my screen timed out, but I got it back.
Right. Now, I mean, it's hard to believe for I guess the common folks who are not thinking about this kind of stuff, the kind of the deep state and the underlying contributions and the monetary and the political aspirations. I mean, we always thought the media was there supposed to support news and facts to us so that we can be informed. I mean, have you seen a shift in media over the years since you left?
I mean, even before I left, absolutely. Objectivity is no longer the rule in the media. Even non-opinionated newscasts, they are not completely and totally, even partially objective in many cases. They have an agenda, and they're going to push that agenda with the news that they report. And if there is news, they'll just ignore it in many cases, if it doesn't suit their agenda.
Right. So where do people go now, Neal? Where do you go to disseminate what's real and what's not real?
I wish I knew. I truly wish I knew. Certainly, none of the networks are going to be even 20% objective. Fox News leans in one direction. CNN leans in another direction. You almost have to watch both of them and then put them together into what seems likely to be the objective truth to you. There are the Drudge Report has shifted to basically an anti-Trump stance. There's joining many other websites that have done the same thing. There is one newscast out there called America Online News, AON, that if you happen to get it on your cable channel, it is not presented with any great degree of expertise, but it is perhaps more objective than most other newscasts. I'm searching for objective sources of news, and I can't find them. So I'm constantly on the internet for my own little podcast, constantly on the internet, just getting different stories from different slants and putting them together and doing my own research to try to come up with what seems more true than not.
No doubt. I've never been I've been a fiscally conservative. I'm right down the middle, like like probably 70-80% Americans, right down the middle. And historically, I've always thought Fox News was way slanted to the right. And I started to get news from CNN and MSNBC, and then I realized through this whole ordeal that we've had, they're so slanted to the left. It's like incredibly slanted to the left, extreme. And I found myself going on to Fox Business and Fox News to actually get a different opinion, the other side, to try to disseminate it. You're actually right. We have to listen to both sides now and actually utilize critical thinking to actually formulate some type of opinion that makes sense.
Maria Bartiromo on Fox News is one of the best, I think, at Objective. But for instance, on all three networks today, or these days, I should say, you will still hear reporters delivering what is supposed to be an objective, not a subjective report. You'll still hear them saying that Trump called the coronavirus a hoax. He never did. Those words never came out of his mouth. He called the way that the Democrats and the liberals were treating it as a hoax. But you really, I had some other examples that I could present, but my mind goes blank when I'm on camera anyway. So I spend too much time looking at myself. Remember, I'm a microphone guy, not a camera guy.
You're very good. You're very good.
Yeah, you're doing.
You got a lot of fans here that are watching you too today.
Right.
So
well, I see that there's a lot of people that seem to remember who the hell I am. That's nice. I mean, I've been gone for 7 years.
Right.
And on Fox News, let me just say this. You have news programming, Brett Baer and his evening newscast, and you have opinion programming, which is probably about 80% of Fox News. I challenged people for many years when I was still on the air. I challenged them to come up with one example of news programming on Fox News that was biased. One example. And they never could. Never. Things may be different now. I haven't been around to make that challenge, so I don't know if anybody could come up with those examples or not.
Right. No, that's interesting. That's interesting. So so you say you have a podcast right now. Yeah. How have you embraced kind of the new medium here heading into, your years now and what you're trying to accomplish?
Well, I'm just having fun saying the things I could never say on the radio. As a matter of fact, if my show was on the radio right now, radio stations would absolutely drop me. I would be heavily censored. In 2020, I could not get away with what I was getting away with in 2013, which was my last year on the air. I just couldn't. The managers, the demonstrations, the complaints, and everything would be so over the top that I would simply be taken off the air. So I can do a podcast, because now on my podcast, and I'm a greedy capitalist, so I charge $3 a month for it. And there's probably over the course of the month I do maybe 15, and they're about 30 minutes in length.
Okay.
So, but $3 a month. And so I have thousands of bosses instead of one. And if any boss decides they don't like what I'm saying, they can fire me.
You're right. They can stop paying. Exactly right.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is, because I can look at the stats, nobody ever cancels. Now, some people let their credit card run out. They don't renew when their credit card down, but nobody ever cancels. So I keep trying to step up my game until somebody says, screw this, and cancels. But it doesn't happen.
Right.
Tell them some of the things I used to do on the air, though, Ruth.
Oh my gosh, you did the big spoof. You need to tell the dolphin spoof, because that's the one I don't remember, which was the best one, by the way. But you did the Hindenburg spoof and the dolphin spoof, and
cat chase. Don't forget cat chase.
The cat chase, right? Well, share some of that, because that was so witty, and your wisdom is just incredible. So share it with us.
Well, the dolphin thing. It was at that time there was a lot of news coverage out of the San Diego area over tuna boats catching dolphins in their nets. Maybe you remember that.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal. So I went on the air And I had a good friend in law school at the time, so this had to be 74, 75.
74. Mm-hmm.
One of my friends in law school was very glib. He now lives in Naples, about 2 miles away from me. So he and I got together and put together a loose script. I have to make this fast.
No, you
That
don't.
he was going to come on the air as a marine scientist from San Diego, and his name was Harvey Seagull. But his real name was Harvey Siegel, Siegal. So I had him on to talk about these dolphins and reports that dolphins were starting to strike back at the tuna boats and attack them. And in the middle of that conversation, the middle of it, he all of a sudden, Neal, I'm sorry. We have an emergency here and I got to go. I'm sorry. Click. He was gone. See, what the hell? I mean, so we just proceeded with the regular show. And then the next day when I started the show, I had another friend of mine call up and say, Neal, I have a friend in San Diego who just called me and said that some dolphins had attacked a tuna boat and had finned the crew to death. Well, how did they find out? Well, one of the crewmen shindied up the mast on the tuna boat and it crashed into the rocks, and he told everybody what had happened. And as you know, dolphins can't shinny. So I said, well, thanks for the call. That's interesting. A few minutes later, somebody else called, a stooge. Neal, remember that guy you had on the air yesterday? Yeah. He said he had an emergency and he had to leave, and you were talking about dolphins. Oh, yeah. So that I called up my buddy Harvey. He was in the next room. Dr. Siegel, how'd you get my number? Oh, we were on the air yesterday, remember? He said, oh, yeah. Well, we've got reports here that dolphins are boarding tuna boats and killing the crew off the coast of San Diego. Where'd you hear that? I said, well, just a listener. He said, okay. So the story's out now, so I might as well tell you what's happening. And he talked about dolphins attacking tuna boats and attacking the crews as revenge over the nets, I guess. So anyway, we talked to him for a few minutes, and then I just turned him loose, and we didn't have much to say until the next morning, the third day of the show. He called back, said, Neal, I got to tell you something. What's that? This has really escalated in San Diego. How's that? Well, these dolphins that were attacking the tuna boats they escaped from the naval base at Coronado. They were being trained in warfare. And he says, I hate to say it, but they have now swum up the torpedo tubes of a nuclear submarine, and they've taken control of the submarine. And they are announcing that either the tuna boats stop catching dolphins or they're going to nuke Los Angeles. So we went through that whole show. And then finally, at the end of it, I said, by the way, people, talking about these dolphins, do you know what today is? It's April the 1st. And you've been had. So we paid it all off. And I thought that was the end of it, except by the end of that show, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution had a reporter and a cameraman on a Delta flight on the way to San Diego to cover the story. Oh, were they ticked off. And they demanded that we pay the cost of that trip, and we told them not a chance. So we really had fun with that one.
Yeah.
We did.
What was the great cat chase? Go ahead, Max, you had a question.
No, I mean,
the great cat chase was that I announced that in Albuquerque, New Mexico, every year they had the cat chase championships, which was very simple. You take 12 skydivers and a cat up into a skydiving airplane, and then you toss the cat out, and then the skydivers jump out, and whoever lands with the cat is the winner. And so I said, we are next month, the Georgia cat chasing championships are going to be held at an airport in South Georgia to select the contestant to go to the national championships. And we are going to be there to cover it live. And I would refuse to tell people where this is. No, I'm not going to tell you where it's happening. Just some airport in South Georgia. But we'll be there. So anyway, we talked about this for about 3 or 4 weeks. We had guests on the air that were skydiver buddies. They were skydivers. And they talked about it, and they knew all the lingo. And they even had a theme song, something like, heave ho, out you go. And so the day we got all the broadcast scripted, ready to go, sound effects, screaming cats, crashing through trees, clawing people, helicopters, wind noise, all of it. And we got together on the given day, which was not April the 1st, and we did the program. The sheriff met me in the parking lot, by the way, on the way up there. He said, Neal, you got to tell me where this is going to happen, because I'm getting calls from sheriffs all over South Georgia. They want to stop this thing. I said, I'm sorry, I can't tell you a thing. And I went in the building. And then at the end of that show, we announced that this too has been a complete fraud. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. And by the end of the show, Home Depot and one other advertiser had canceled all future advertising on that radio station. So the next day I announced that we had tapes on this. We'd made a cassette tape. We're going to sell them for $10 a piece, and all of the money would go to the Fund for Animals. So we raised thousands of dollars for the Fund for Animals selling tapes of this. So you just never knew where I was telling the truth or just bald-faced lying to you on the air.
And yours was a entertainment opinion show, right? It wasn't like a news specific broadcast.
Well, I very seldom had guests on the air. So it was just all me talking to the callers about pretty much anything. One topic I absolutely would not discuss was the abortion topic, because there was no winning any conversation on that. Anything else was fair game. It usually involved news and politics, but sometimes it run off in other directions. And I would tell my phone screener that any caller that disagreed with me would be put on the air first, before any caller who agreed, but they would be held to a very high standard. So, I just had a great time doing it. Beats the hell out of practicing law. Okay. So I just had a wonderful time doing it. And I did talk radio for 43 years.
All right.
And for about the last 10 or 12 years, it was syndicated out of Atlanta nationwide. We had at the top about 7 million listeners, and we were number 3 behind Limbaugh and Hannity.
Oh wow!
So yeah, we did well. We had a good time, and then when I retired, I just threw the switch. I'm through. That's it. And now I do the podcast just so I can get things off my chest.
So Neal, you were one of the 25 most important radio talk show hosts in America, which is quite an honor. And in Georgia, you were in the top 100 influential people. So you've touched so many lives in your life, and most of it is good. I mean, I know a lot of people. I'm born and raised in Atlanta, been out here in Vegas, 37 or 34 years.
You were born there?
Yeah, born and raised. I was born in Emory Hospital.
Oh, really? So okay, Emory.
Yeah,
so you're not, what do they call it? You're not a gosh, what's that other hospital downtown where they take all the debris off the expressways? Grady baby.
Great. No, I'm not a Grady baby. No, in fact, Dr. Bartholomew, who founded that particular part of the hospital, was my doctor that delivered me. So, I go way back in Atlanta, Georgia history.
Do you miss it?
I miss the way it was. Yes,
the way it was.
The way it was. Do you miss the way it was?
I miss the way it was. But yes. When I moved there, Ruth, the population was 1 million. When of the general area. When I left, it was over 6 million. Atlanta became too crowded, too dense. And when you crowd people together, they become hostile. They become mean. And I hate to say it because, my God, I owe everything to the city of Atlanta, but it just became too mean and too hostile.
Yes,
And so, I had to leave. And I think oh, look at that. Don't forget the dihydrogen monoxide in the Atlanta water system. You know the secret about that, don't you?
No, I wasn't there, I don't think.
Well, I just went on the air and announced that they've found a lot of dihydrogen monoxide in the Atlanta water system, and it's a solvent. I mean, it'll rust metal. It will, and if you inhale it, it will kill you. And so I had the head of the Atlanta water system call me on the air. He was furious. What are you telling people? We have this in my... Well, are you telling me you don't have any dihydrogen monoxide in your water system? No, not a bit. You know what dihydrogen monoxide is?
I don't have a clue.
I don't have a clue.
H2O. Water.
Oh my gosh, you are something. Yeah. Oh, that's a riot.
That's funny.
I just love causing trouble. Now here I am on the beach in Naples, and I just, I may take my dog on the non-dog elevator every once in a while, but that's as risky as it gets.
What's your little guy's name?
Carrie.
Oh.
Carrie is a rescue. She is an Alaskan Eskimo.
She's adorable.
About a 20-pounder.
Yeah.
No, fantastic.
And about the first week we were in this condo, I had Carrie on the people elevator because the other one was not coming. And this guy says, dogs are supposed to be on the other elevator. And I said, you tell her, I tried. And then we became good friends.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Did he laugh or did he scowl at you after you said that?
Oh, he scowled, but I could see him going.
Yeah, after you realize that's funny. So back to now, you covered the COVID topic. What about what's happening right now with the civil unrest and the protesting and the riots?
The whole thing is based on a false premise. Okay. And here we get political, and here I don't make any friends, but I mean, I still have the notes here from a podcast I did the other day. But all of this protest against the police is just built on a false premise. The Wall Street Journal had a column, I think it was Thursday, and I'm not good with cameras. The myth of systemic police racism. Now, 98% of the people that use the word racism can't define it. There's racism, there's bigotry, there's prejudice. You're not going to solve bigotry or prejudice by treating it as racism. But, that's another thing. But just like in 2019, officers fatally shot 1,004 people. Most were armed and dangerous. Most. Blacks were about a quarter of those killed by police last year, 235. That ratio has been stable for years. The share of black victims is less than what the black crime rate would predict. So they're not being singled out and picked on. I mean, the black crime rate would predict that there would be more of these shootings. In fact, Michigan State University, University of Maryland, several reports, white police officers are not more likely to have shot minority citizens than non-white police officers. In fact, most of them who are victims of police violence, most of them are armed in engaging in violence themselves, and most of them are shot by black police officers. So, I mean, we have issues that need to be dealt with, but let's deal with these issues on an accurate, correct premise so that later on the whole supposed solution doesn't just get blown out of the water as being illegitimate, can we say.
So what do you think the agenda behind this premise that's been created here, as you say?
Well, I don't like to use the phrase everybody knows because everybody didn't know anything. Everybody didn't even know their own name. But a lot of people realize that this whole story about police violence against minorities is overblown. But it is the agenda of, if I may say, the Democrat Party. And the Democrat Party has built its voter base on minority citizens, especially Black. And 90-some% of journalists, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, NBC, a good portion of them at Fox, 90-some% of them make all of their political contributions to Democrats. And if they vote Democrat. So they are going to go with the agenda that the Democrat Party has in their presentation of the news. Because as we discussed earlier, the objectivity is gone. It just doesn't exist in the news media anymore. So I would look. There is, and this is the sadness of it. There is a really terrible culture of violence in the urban Black community. Blacks are 13% of the population. We can make a simple calculation and say that means Black men are 6.5% of the population. Then we could just make an educated guess and say that Black men between 17 and 28, the age at which most crimes are committed, probably a little more than half of the Black population. Will give them 4% of the population. So 4% of the population is responsible for, these are federal crime statistics. They're in the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, University of Michigan, University of Maryland, found anywhere. 4% of the population is responsible for 52% of all murders. 52, and over 60% of armed robberies. This is not a race problem. This is not something that is caused by this pigmentation of somebody's skin. It's absurd to believe that. What this is a cultural problem. These young Black men are raised in a culture that, in many cases, glorifies this violence. And until we can address that, until we can forget race, let's not talk about race anymore, people. Let's talk about cultures. Are there any cultures that actually promote violence? Are there any cultures out there that ignore violence or make excuses for violence? If there are, let's concentrate on them and concentrate on those cultural differences instead of skin color differences. And then maybe, as that comedian says, just maybe we will arrive at some workable solutions or ways to address this issue. So like,
interesting.
Does that make me look? No, it does. Okay.
You look fine, Neal.
You look fine, Neal. So that's an interesting skew, and I really haven't really thought about that way. I mean, really, if the base of the Democrats are minorities, and basically they're slanting the news to maybe appease that group of people and have them rise up. Interesting.
You ever heard of Candace Owen?
No.
I asked you that, didn't I, Ruth?
Yes.
Go on YouTube sometime and just look for Candace, Candace Owen. It's either Owen or Owens, Candace Owens. And just listen to her for a while. She will blow you away with her intelligence and the way she addresses these issues. More and more, and it's gratifying to see, more and more independent thinking Black and minority Americans, and forgive me, everybody, for not using African American, because I don't believe in hyphenated Americanism. Either did Teddy Roosevelt. You read what Teddy Roosevelt had to say about hyphenated Americanism. They're Americans. But more and more are starting to say, God, we've been manipulated. We've been captive. And it's time to break away. And only by breaking away are we going to be able to change the dialogue and maybe get something done out there.
Interesting. Candace Owens, huh?
Candace Owens.
Yeah,
I'm in love. She is just incredible.
Well, fantastic. So now onto a lighter conversation, Neal.
Yes.
We haven't
Can I
had this
take a
type
drink
of
my Baileys?
right. They haven't had this type of in-depth type of analysis for any topics outside of real estate.
Well, you
I
want me
think
to
this
tell
is
you
really
some
good.
real estate closing stories?
Oh yeah, let's go with one or two of those, and actually tell us a little bit. During this time right now, I mean, what if you had to look at real estate all over again, right? Say, for instance, you wound the clock, back 30 years here, and you're here. What would you be doing differently, working in this industry now, given all the tools available out there?
Well, we did very well with real estate, and we continue to do, although we're not active investors, but just by accident we do well. For instance, I bought a motor condo about 6 weeks ago because we have this big, obnoxious Prevost motor coach, and I wanted it protected in case there's a hurricane or hail or thunderstorms or tree. So we bought a motor condo, Naples Motor Condos. And after I signed the contract and we're about 3 weeks away from closing, I get a call from the developer. Neal, yeah. You looking forward to your condo closing? Absolutely. I can't wait to get the Boortz bus in. Well, let me ask you something. What if I offered you $100,000 for your contract? What? What if I gave you $100,000 plus your earnest money back and we canceled the contract? I said, no. So what did that tell me? That told me that already my property had been appreciated by $100,000 before I closed on it. So sometimes we just make money. There's a zip code near here. It's called Port Royal, which is the highest net worth zip code in the country. These people have Bugattis and antique cars and what have. They buy these motor condos and they put their little man cave in there and then fill it with their antique cars, and then just sit there and look at it and drink beers.
So what is a motor condo? I mean, is it just a condo?
A condominium. It's a garage that's 50 feet deep, 25 feet wide, 25 feet tall, 14-foot door with a nice fancy floor, climate controlled. And you own it as a condominium.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. And they cannot find land down here to build any more of them.
And so people would store their vehicles in there.
Yeah, there's about maybe 5 motor coaches like ours, maybe 5. And then the rest of them is antique, collectible cars. And just to give you an idea, don't you love it when the show and tell here? But get the glare off of there, Boortz. God, I'm terrible at this.
Right.
I can't. But there's our bus in the condo.
See a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, you can kind of get the idea.
Yeah, interesting.
But we're going to hop in that bus here in about a month. And before you know it, I may be, what is it, Arville Street?
Arville. Yes.
Arville. I may be at the Las Vegas Motor Coach condo at Arville, or maybe the Oasis next to Silverton. But we usually hit Vegas every year.
Okay,
Didn't
yeah.
last, but usually.
All right. We welcome you back here to Las Vegas.
I don't gamble, so I'm of no use.
Well, you eat and you pump gas, so you're contributing to our economy.
Yeah,
in
I've
some
got the
form or
COVID-19. No, the COVID-15. I have the COVID-15. It's all right down there.
Well, fantastic.
Oh, real estate. You know what I always loved? Ruthie knows what this is about. I'm sitting there closing a real estate loan, and I'm asking the buyers if they want an owner's title insurance policy. And the real estate agent says, "Oh, no. You don't need that. The lender has one." And I just go, "Oh, God. Okay. Let me tell you what happens if the lender exercises their rights under their title insurance property or policy and gets the rights to this property. Guess what? You still owe the money, and the lender's going to come after you for that." No, yes. Am I wrong, Ruth?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's amazing. I just had a fellow in the office the other day, and he said, he went to buy a house, and all of a sudden they said, well, your debt to ratio doesn't work. And he says, what are you talking about? He says, well, you're on a loan over here for this house of your ex-wife's. Well, when he quick claimed the title, he didn't realize that the loan wasn't part of the deal. And so now he gave his ex-wife a few years to get out of there, a few months, I think, to get out of there so that he can go buy his own home.
Some of the stories, some of the stories are just amazing. And I had somebody come to an equity loan one time, and guy and his wife came in there, and I say, okay, I need to see both of your driver's licenses. Oh, I forgot mine. It's back at the office. I said, okay, I'll just keep the loan papers right here. You go back to the office and get your driver's license and come back, and then we'll close the loan. On a 1 to 10, what do you think the chances are I ever saw them again?
No, they never came back.
Nope. They were gone.
Fantastic. I read on your Wikipedia that once you had an encounter with Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, yeah, that was back in the early days. That would have been about 6 months before he was assassinated. But when I got to Atlanta, I wanted to get into radio because I'd been a country disc jockey in college. And I wanted to get into radio. So I'm just pestering all the radio stations. No, you don't have any experience. No, you need to start at a smaller market. So I was selling diamonds at a department store. And Martin Luther King came in one time and bought a diamond. And we had a good old time. We hit it off well. Ruthie doesn't remember how I got my first talk radio job. But I had been, huh?
I think I do.
It was gross. It was,
maybe I don't. Maybe I don't know the real story.
Well, I really, really befriended a talk show host. Okay. His name was Herb Elfman. And I thought, this guy is great. And whenever he'd give a speech, I'd go to see his speech. Oh, he's fantastic. I love. And then I became a caller on his show all the time. And so we got to know each other that way. And then I kept applying for a job at that radio station. Excuse me for a second. I'm going to sneeze. I kept applying to that radio station. I can do this. I want a job. I want to do a talk show. No. You don't have enough experience. Then one horrible Sunday night, I'm watching the news on TV. 69, I think it was, that local morning talk show host Herb Elfman has committed suicide. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the next morning, this is a station that signed on at 6 o'clock.
Was that Ring?
They were dark overnight. Next morning at about 5 o'clock, I'm sitting at the door of that radio station in a lawn chair with a cup of coffee.
Was that Ring Radio?
Ring Radio.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting, and here comes the station manager and a couple of people. What are you doing here? Haven't you heard? Herb's dead. He won't be here to do the show this morning, and I can do it. And we've got so-and-so here. He's going to do the show. And I said, well, he's on in the afternoon. I'll do his show. And the guy was so disgusted. Okay. Be back here at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And I went back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I did that show. And 2 weeks later, they moved me to the morning, and that was it. 43 years later, I retired from talk radio.
Wow.
When did you become
nasty? A jerk or what?
When did you become nasty, Neal? Remember Nasty Neal?
I was always pretty nasty.
No, but I mean, I know, but they really dubbed you that name, Nasty Neal.
It probably was either WGST or, but well, it just worked. So my nickname for myself was the Talkmaster. And my last year 3 times I was nominated for the Marconi Award. And 2 times I lost. I didn't get it. I think Limbaugh got it one time. Maybe Hannity got it the other time. Marconi Award for the #1 radio talk show host in the nation. So I got nominated one more time. the last year I was on the air. And so I said, I'm not going to go to this award ceremony. I'm not going to get it. Oh, come on. You're a shoo-in this time. You're retiring, blah, 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 blah. So they talked me into going. And sure enough, the award went to somebody that did a sports talk TV show that was carried on radio. And he got the award for the best radio talk show host. So I was royally pissed. And I left that lunch, and I'm with my wife, and I'm going up the elevator of the room, and here comes the president of the National Association of Broadcasters. It's their show. It's their Marconi Award. How's your evening going, Neal? I said, not all that good. Well, it's a great honor just to be nominated for a Marconi. And at that point, the elevator reached our floor. The door opened and Donna got off. She couldn't get off fast enough.
Right.
But I held the door open and I looked at him and I said, this is a radio awards show. Radio is in trouble right now. And you just gave this award to a TV show. And I stepped back and let the doors close and left town. So, and radio really is Ruthie, was I ever on the air in Las Vegas? I think I was for a while, wasn't I?
Yes.
Was I? Okay, for a while.
Wow.
Sooner or later, I piss people off.
Well,
and the callers get rid of me.
You were way before your time, because in the platform that is available to you now, you probably be running and be able to have a long last. I mean, I don't know if you saw the headlines. Joe Rogan last week, he's had a long-standing podcast, #1 podcast. Yeah, and he just signed a big deal with Spotify for $100 million. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean,
really,
yeah, $100 million Spotify.
I just don't want to work that hard.
Yeah, no,
I don't. I
tried to get you to do a show, didn't I?
Yes.
We even created a business page called the Neal Boortz Show. I tried to get you to do a
Bless
show.
your heart, you worked so hard at that. and I just don't want to work that hard. I mean, I'm perfectly content with what I have. I could live to 100 and not spend it all. Not bragging, but I'm just trying to explain. I worked my butt off in the early days of Ring Radio. I was doing the radio show, selling life insurance and loading trucks for East Texas Motor Freight at nighttime. Okay, and then working at the post office parcel post center overnight, tossing mailboxes.
Yes.
And then later on, when I was doing radio and practicing law, because I went to law school to give myself a cushion in case the radio thing just didn't work out. I was going to work at 5 a.m. and coming home at 11 p.m. I'd work in the law office for a couple of hours. I'd go do the radio show. I'd come back to the law office, and 10 or 11 at night, Donna would be calling me, "When are you coming home?" And finally, this was just destroying me health-wise. And a doctor told me, you got to get rid of something. So I said, Donna, my contract was up at a radio station. I'm either going to quit now, radio, and go full-time law practice, or I'm going to quit practicing law and go full-time radio. And what do you think I should do? She said, well, where can you make the most money? Oh, I said, law practice. Because I wasn't being paid squat to be on the radio. Well, what do you like doing the most? Oh, radio, no doubt about it. She says, go with the radio. And so I did. And then it turned out to be totally wrong about the money thing when syndication came along.
Yeah,
do you have time for one more story?
Yeah.
Do you? Sure.
Yeah. One more story. You got 3.5 minutes, Neal.
I got fired from WRNG.
That's my story.
So I hit the road with my wife. They even gave me a car to drive around with tapes, and I went looking for another talk radio show gig. I got to Schenectady, New York, the GE flagship radio station, 50,000 channels clear, 50,000 watts clear. They offered me a job. Oh boy, here we go. I think the station was WGY Schenectady or something like that. I went back to the hotel room. I walked in the door, and Donna was standing at the window looking out at Schenectady, New York. And she turned around, and her eyes were full of tears. She was crying her heart out. Honey, what's wrong? She said, I hate this place. And I looked at her and said, so do I. Let's get the hell out of here and go back to Atlanta. So I went downstairs. I checked out of the hotel. I got on a payphone. I talked to the radio station, said, I'm sorry, I just can't accept your offer, but I appreciate it. We got in the car, left, went back to Atlanta, got into law school. And then 3 months later, WGST or WRNG hired me back at double the salary because the listeners were ticked off that they'd fired me. So, I didn't let Donna know that I'd been offered that job for years because I didn't want her to feel guilty. Now, thank God I didn't take it.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Neal, thank you so much for coming on here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But it's lunchtime now. I guess it's your breakfast time.
It's kind of brunch-ish time right now.
Do
you head over to the Cracker Barrel now?
Are you
Not
asking
me.
Ruth? Yeah,
No,
because
not
I don't go to the.
Well, Ruth, you've never even so much as eaten in a Waffle House.
I know. I've never had a McDonald's.
She's never had a McDonald's. Did you know that?
That's why she's going to live to about 150.
But she's got those cowhide glasses on.
Yes.
People like my glasses.
Right.
They like them.
It is Vegas.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have a like a call sign that you end the radio show with, or a call out? What do they call that? A signature call out?
Not really.
No.
No. I was never that professional.
Well, fantastic. There you have it, everybody.
Okay.
Any last words for our audience before we end the show?
Okay. Yeah. If you're interested in my podcast, it's easy. You go on the internet, Connect Pal, CONNECTPAL, and then look up Boortz, BOORTZ. There it is.
Is it connectpal.com?
Connectpal.com. It's going to cost you.
I'm a member, but I haven't listened to you for a while because I've been so busy.
It's going to cost you $3 a month.
I know. It beginning to cost me $4, and I didn't quit. Remember when you had it at $4? Yes, you did.
Didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Well, I make just enough money on it to buy diesel fuel and aircraft.
There you go.
Fuel. Yeah.
There you go. Well, fantastic.
Yes, Neal, you fly a plane and you have a great condominium on wheels, your Prevost, and we look forward to seeing you here in Vegas soon.
Yeah, if the roads take me in that direction, and I can go to the, what is it? That bar with the red star of Soviet Union outside the door. What?
I don't think they have that anymore.
They don't.
No.
What, at Mandalay Bay?
Mandalay Bay.
Yeah.
It's called the Red Lounge or something.
Well, anyway, they had a cherry martini there that I liked. I drink sissy drinks. So,
well, Neal, I really appreciate you spending all this time with us, and you've got a lot of comments here. A lot of people miss you. A lot of people want you to come back on radio.
Now, how can I go back and read those?
I'll send them to you.
Would you? Yeah,
absolutely.
Maybe a long lost friend showed up there somewhere.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people. You got Jody Elizabeth, she loves you. You've got Brenda Yates. You've got Jody. Let's see. You got Tom Jennings. You got Joe Herney. You got Judd Mancy, Thomas Jennings, Marilyn Piccoloni, Erik. I can't pronounce her name. Viquella.
Well, there's a buttload of them.
Yeah, you got a lot. You got Brian Kessler, Rose Patty,
Kooky Boston.
This Cookie, she's like one of my favorites. She's
It's
like
not
one of my
Cookie.
favorites.
It's Cookie. Okay.
It's Cookie, yeah. She's
Yeah.
she's a sweetie pie. Then you got Rose, Patti, you got Zipman, you got Hoffman. All these people are friends of yours. Bonnie Reed. You got a lot of people.
A lot
Everybody
of friends
misses
here,
you, Neal.
Neal. All right.
Everybody misses you.
Yeah, well, those are the people that like you, or they wouldn't be here. Believe me, this could go the other way in a real hurry.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, have a great week. Any announcements here, Ruth, before we end the show?
We're having speaking of law, we're having a 3 CE continuing ed credit law class on Monday. You can Zoom in or you can come into the classroom 10 to 1. Sign up at b.vegas. We'll put the little, see if I can get it here real quick. We go to b.vegas and you can sign up for the quarter law class, and we'll be teaching it 10 to 1 on Monday. And we even give you a free lunch if you come into the classroom.
McDonald's.
Yeah, not McDonald's.
We always have a nice sponsor that comes in and gets in front of the people and talks about home warranties or loans or something, and they bring the students lunch. So that's really nice. We appreciate all our sponsors. So go to b.vegas, sign up, and no social media class this month. We're revamping it for next month. The good news is the price is going up and the hours are going down, and we got more to offer you. So see you then. Hopefully see you Monday, or we'll see you Monday at 9 for my live with Jimmy Dague. I've been doing a live every day since the pandemic. So tune in to us and listen to what we have to say and keep up with the stats so you can sell more real estate.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Love everybody. Bye. Thank you again.